Welcome to Star Wars Week, and we have 7 days, that's 7, to review all 7 episodes of the Star Wars saga, starting with episode 1. So this film is a mess, to say the least. As a kid, I first saw this film in theaters in 1999, and it was the first film I ever saw in a movie theater, because prior to 1998, I think, winter 98 was when I moved to the city I live in now, and prior to that we didn't have a movie theater, so I could really watch films until then. I just realized I say film and movie theater. I should say cinema instead, but whatever. I'm Swedish, I don't have to abide by language rules. So I saw episode 1 when it was new, and I really liked it as a child. And as an adult, I don't like it much. It's not a very good film. Now, with that said, it's not as bad as some people make it out to be, and that's kind of what I want to bring across here. Episode 1 has a reputation of being like one of the worst films ever made when it comes to like being from talented people, and it's not that bad. It really is not that bad. It has a lot of good scenes to it. It has some really good action scenes. It has some really clever actual plot developments and some really good performances. Some of which are actually like looked down upon. Let's bring up Jake Lloyd immediately. Jake Lloyd, a child actor playing Anakin Skywalker, does a terrific job. To be honest, does a really good job, especially considering the script isn't very good. The fact that he basically had his life ruined by Star Wars fans because they didn't like his performance as Anakin is ridiculous. Because it's a really good performance. I've seen a lot of I used to teach. Let's get some perspective here. I used to help teach theater classes for young children around the age of Jake Lloyd at the time of episode 1, and they were really talented. I'm not gonna talk down on the students I helped out. They were really good little child actors and actresses, but Jake Lloyd would have been among the top of the class for the performance he gives as Anakin Skywalker. Because it's a really good performance. You really do get the sense of him being an energetic and self-certain kid, and it really comes across well, especially in the scenes where he like tries to invoke confidence in Qui-Gon and his mother, like trying to convince him, yes, I can do this thing, I can do these things that I say I can do. Look, I built this. Look, I can pilot this. I can do these things. Please believe in me. And it feels genuine. It really does. And that's one of the best things about the film. Actually, is these performances. Another one, of course, is Evan McGregor doing his debut performance as Obi-Wan, which he later played in 2 and 3 as well. He does a good job, despite being really underused in the film. All the scenes where he does get to talk, he does a really good performance as Obi-Wan. The cast is good. I will even defend Liam Neeson, and people really say Liam Neeson didn't care about the script, and maybe he didn't. But like Qui-Gon Jinn as a character in the story of the Phantom Menace is pretty much meant to be laid back, certain, and he just flows with the Force in a way. Like he knows the Force will guide him where he needs to be and what he needs to do. He shouldn't care about anything else. He will flow along with it, and I get that feeling from Liam Neeson. Now, maybe it's because he didn't care for the script. Maybe, but if that's the case, it actually worked out. Because I felt like Qui-Gon Jinn was portrayed the way that character was written. And that's nice. Of course, I can't be too positive on the film. It still has Jar Jar Binks, which, God, he is more annoying than I remember him being. I think as a child I liked him. I think most kids liked him because he was wacky, and kids like wacky things, you know. But it gets too far. Basically, the thing with Jar Jar Binks is that he is meant to be taken seriously. Not entirely seriously, mind you, but somewhat serious, because his relevance to the story is serious. But there's so much pointless slapstick and bad jokes being forced onto you in the first 2 acts of the film that the development of like his character, it goes over your head because like you don't even want to notice it. And it's a shame because I feel like the character could have worked. Racist stereotype or not, the character, as it's written for the narrative of the story, works. It really works. And the bringing together the Gungans and the Naboo humans is an important moment for the story. And it's just ruined by Jar Jar Binks being so annoying. Like, it's obvious he was meant to be the comic relief in the same way C-3PO is in the original movies. But even C-3PO got annoying. And that's why you didn't have C-3PO in every scene, except for maybe the beginning of A New Hope, doing wacky things and getting into trouble. Because it's annoying. Another thing is, like, Natalie Portman as Padme, she doesn't care. She does not care at all for the script, because Natalie Portman, I haven't seen too much of her in other films, but there's no way she's this bad of an actress. I think the worst line in the film is probably when she goes to kneel before the Gungans, and she says something like, I stand before you, no, I kneel before you. And she delivers it like that. It's not, I stand before you, no, I kneel before you. It's like she just says it like it's written. I stand before you, no, I kneel before you. And it's so bad. It's dreadful, and she delivers almost every line like that, with just, as if she's just reading them to memorize them, not to actually, like, act on them. And I don't know why, because no one should deliver lines like that. The effects have also aged really poorly, which is a shame, because I'm not normally one to side with the CGI is awful in every debate, but Phantom Menace has some bad CGI. The effects that still do hold up though are the pod racing still holds up. That scene is way too long though. It's like 11 minutes long in the home release cut, and it's just way too long. It gets boring after the 3rd or 4th minute. But that holds up really well. It looks great, as do most of the starship scenes. In the 2011 re-release, the CGI Yoda looks really good. The CGI Yoda looks really good. I'm glad they added that instead of the weird puppet they had in episode 1 first. But then there's the story. And some people actually defend the story of the Phantom Menace because it has a beginning, middle, and end. So it's a self-contained story. I think that's a bad thing. Because A New Hope was like that, but it worked because A New Hope was the first film in the series. If it was to not get popular, it was a great standoff. We all knew episode 2 and 3 was going to happen. The reason people got excited for episode 1 was because they wanted to know how Anakin became Darth Vader, how Obi-Wan became Ben Kenobi, and all these stories that we had heard about in the original trilogy. And we don't get any of that in The Phantom Menace. Yes, we get to meet Anakin Skywalker and see how he was introduced to Obi-Wan, but he doesn't even properly start his Jedi training in episode 1, let alone start like falling down to the dark side. He's just a side character that plays a semi-important role in the final scene. And it's just, it makes the film pointless. Like, my brother actually had a Star Wars marathon around the same time as I had, and he and his friends were watching all the films in preparation for 7. And they just skipped episode 1 because, like, it's not important. Yeah, okay, like, Qui-Gon is in it, and they mention Qui-Gon in episode 3. That's about it. Like, the rest is set up in episode 2 and 3 anyway, so... Hell, most of the things important are just in episode 3, which is something we'll get to later, but episode 1, it's just so pointless. And it'd be one thing if the story told was interesting, but it's not. It's just... It's nothing happening. I mean... It's a story of the Gungan and the Gungan tribe and the Naboo people coming together. That's the actual story being told. But you're not aware you're watching that story until the final act. Because, like, there's no actual, like, ending to the Trade Federation thing. Like, yeah, they get reprehended at the end, but, like, we don't see any actual. We don't see what happens when the actions they did have consequences. We don't follow up on almost any development at all. All we see is Gungan and Naboo celebrate peace. Yay! Also, Anakin will have a story later. And of course, it's Darth Maul, which, I mean, Darth Maul is probably one of the most famous characters known for being wasted. Because it's a character that was in all the promotional material, even for the 3D re-release. And just, he appears, and he does a thing, and then he dies. Yeah, now there's material that brings him back to life, and he didn't die, sure. But, like, at the time being, it's just, he's so pointless. He has this really cool lightsaber, and then he's just not there anymore. I mean, he's still really cool, and, what's the actor's name? Something Park, I think. Robert Park? No. Or maybe it is. Maybe I'm completely off. But he does a tremendous job as Darth Maul, and the fight, the Duel of the Fates, it's good. But the biggest promotional material for the film was Darth Maul, and he's barely in it. Which is actually that's a common issue with the Star Wars series to date, but we'll get to that as well later. Overall, I think Episode 1 has some good parts and some bad parts, and I feel people shit on it more than it deserves, because the good parts can make it worth at least a sit or two, but the bad parts are really bad. They're really bad. I don't think I have much else to say. Qui-Gon is the worst Jedi ever. He should have betted his own life to ensure Shmi Skywalker's safety, but he didn't. Look how that ended. I guess that's the only thing I can add, I guess. Overall, I think it's a perfect film that, like, where one or two rewrites could have been really good. Like, someone had to go in and just, like, stop the slapstick for Jar Jar. Because, like, if you take out, like, just half of the slapstick for Jar Jar, he's a much better character. Because his development at the end, like him becoming a general, him taking part of the war, actually the slapstick in the war scene is quite fun. That works. But up until that, it's just so annoying. Hell, there are actually scenes where Jar Jar is the voice of reason. There are like 2 or 3 scenes where he's the voice of reason, where he says the things that are worth mentioning. Like there's a bongo scene where he's the only one who is like acknowledging that they're in danger. There's when he talks to Padme about the warriors and how they won't go down with a fight. Like there are scenes where we're meant to take Jar Jar seriously, and we can't, because we've seen him just flail about and do wacky things like, it's this way, walking that way, and all that stuff. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. That's a shame. I actually saw the film in 3D as well during the 2012 re-release of the film. Was not worth watching in 3D. Though, it did come with a Swedish dub. It's the only time Star Wars, the live-action films, have been dubbed. It was one of the worst dubs I've ever heard, and it doesn't exist on any Blu-ray or DVD. And it's almost sad 'cause it's a really funny dub. I think the reason a lot of kids, and myself as a kid, liked it is because Anakin gets to do so much cool stuff in the film, though. Because you don't normally see kids getting to do some really cool stuff in films that adults are also watching. That's only in kids' movies, you know? I'm not going to talk more about Phantom Menace. That's my thoughts on it. You can also, actually, if you want to, you can also read my live tweets I did while watching it. You can find a link in the description below. And my final score for the film was a 3 out of 10, which I stand by. It's bad. But it's not as bad as people say it is. Could have been good, but it wasn't. See you tomorrow.